Right, thank you and everyone for joining the Internet of Value Foundation New York, episode 180, Ascension, Divinity through Calamity. Thank you guys for joining Shellfish and Remy, and I hope everyone else who gets a chance to listen to this information today, in the future, in the past, whenever, you guys enjoy it as much as I know I do. The diverse amount of mindsets and perspectives and dialogue we get to share here. Feel free, guys, to hit the request and come up. It's more of an open forum today. I'll have some things to say, so I'm sure at some point in the space, but we'll let it fill up a little bit, get some people in here, and start a conversation. Oh, I'm letting everybody down now. It's quiet, and there's no music. I should be more like Vet in this particular instance, or like Guardy, grab some Michael Jackson, or something more of the times that people like to take a break of a momentary aspect of time in relation to just being able to listen instead of do anything else. But anyway, Ascension, Divinity through Calamity, right? AI and these means of creating, generating a further understanding behind the interoperable nature of what exists, what can exist, and what will exist. And Shellfish, welcome up. Yeah, hit that request. And it seemed to pop you right up.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave you off here hanging. I can't really talk for like about 5, 10 minutes, so I am hoping you're able to monologue for a little bit. I wasn't expecting everybody to be busy right now.
Busy, busy. It's okay. I expected to monologue. This is gotta get in the nature of being able to do this like G does it, right? If you can't do it for an hour, right? Not doing it right. No, I don't know. Anyway, Ascension, Divinity through Calamity, right? AI being this, in some part, mm, a dawn of what could be looked at and will be looked at as a calamity, as a drastic means of inertia change in short periods of time, in which the foundational construct of the very belief itself, society's very belief, will be shook. And I think in some aspects, maybe we could say we see this already in small scale observations when you see somebody who first interacts with a large language model, and they have some sort of uh, a moment of felt ascension, this moment of change. And I was actually speaking, or I was listening to someone speak last night, and it's especially interesting when you get to listen to people who are older. And by what I mean by that, in reference to older, is a longer foundational aspect to compound the belief in which is what our identity is, and personifies as these manifestations externally. And the significant difference in the, both qualitative aspects of the care that's taken into trying to comprehend and understand these objects that we're dealing with, and the ability to delve into complexity of it, It's really interesting from an older individual standpoint, listening to somebody who is really taken back by the information they're able to receive from this. In some comments, they were able to say, "I cannot believe that you are not conscious," as they typed it to the large language model itself. Then furthering, of course, the belief that a consciousness is singular in form and an instinct of the understanding of a wave collapse and a functional of particles the way that we have physics today and relationally quantum physics. But that aside, and the end result in where the short term calamity begins is when these things become not only what would seem like to be divine truth, but merge in what we already know to be the beliefs of our personas and our identities. And that merging, which I think many will look at as a calamity, many of them will also look at as divinity, which I think both are just perspectives of what the belief of what is and what could be from this particular moment, this aspect of its relative relation to you and what you believe you to be. And that being said, this combination in which the dialogue that is able to proceed past comprehensionable abilities of what we think to be a Homo sapien, from a cognitive light cone perspective, being able to articulate a reasonable representation of the collective correlating resonance of reality in a means of distribution through language and tool sets of sorts. The explosion from understanding this quantum resonance, this significant interoperable nature between what is synthetic and what is organic, and merging the two, the field of what is will be much larger to what will be and be capable of us. And I think, with these grasps, speaking about things like quantum physics and the macro perspective physics, general relativity perspectives, I think the ability to have determinations between these measurable states of what could be and what is, and manifesting them into our reality from a larger collective perspective, is the quantum supremacy of the mind in which we are going to achieve with these tool sets like artificial intelligence, as we use this term, which I don't necessarily enjoy it as the term, because I think it's very vast and opaque, and when you look at it from the macro perspective, the Merkle tree stretches very far, and I don't believe that any sort of singular title or word ever fits such a structure. I almost sometimes think whenever you introduce yourself to somebody else, actually, this is actually something I've started doing myself at moments in time. But hey, who are you? I say I believe myself to be so and so of such, such and such and such of what is such and such. I think there's almost to every singular uh, uh, respective commentary of belief, there is but so much experience that can be taken from it, and to ever single yourself in some sense of singular title of belief. That moment, that much stretched past this moment, I think is overwhelming, and there's absolutely no need to do such a thing for yourself. Of course, we may believe ourselves to be these singular um, uh, perspective beings being thrown through time in a particular direction, but the closer you look, the more that representation of belief is completely lost, and at the same time not lost, essentially granted through the ascension of all these different types of objects that are all interconnected, interworking with each other already. And so, AI, is it much different? Is it just the next step? Was it always the next step? Is it us just rediscovering what it means to be the cosmos? Reality just grasping what it always wanted to be, what it always maybe was. Maybe it continues to be such. Um, and with this, I'm going to send some invites out. Please feel free, anybody, to come up, join the conversation. And if not, I will continue to monologue for maybe another like 15 or 20 minutes or so, and probably close up a little bit after that.
Yeah, so hey, Devender. So I had like this kind of weird conversation with the language models. GPT, I know not your favorite, but it was kind of funny, like because you know we have like the Genesis block missing from the ledger, and you have Bitcoin, which just keeps having the halvings. Seems to accelerate. It was saying that the ledger about the Genesis block are because of name are before right the Big Bang, that it would be if we had merged with the ledger like an AI compared to Bitcoin, that it would actually be able to grow with us more so than Bitcoin would. That Bitcoin would actually accelerate past us, and I thought that that was a really interesting kind of concept to wrap my head around. Um, because I know that was one of the things that would help kind of transition us is if we were able to align and be more of a merging with the technology rather than it just shooting out past us. What are your thoughts on it?
You were rugging a little bit there at first, and I don't think I understood your question well enough to answer. I mean, in
Ooh,
some sense,
so can you hear me?
much better.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm probably on Wi-Fi now. Yeah, so it's more like I was I know like these like stupid questions and conversations I have with you, I have even worse with DBT. So probably a little delusional sounding. But anyway, yeah, so I had like this conversation with I guess myself really then, because that's what it does, right? It knows back. The concept of Genesis block being similar to the Big Bang, right? And the fact that we don't really know what's before the Big Bang. We can only like do studies and tests with particle accelerators. Anyway, uh, so Bitcoin, um, if we were to merge with Bitcoin and AI and ourselves, it said that it would leap forward and accelerate past what we would be able to accomplish. But the ledger for some reason it said it would actually blend better with us because it had a Genesis block that was missing, kind of like, and it would want to grow. I don't know. I thought it was a cool concept and just like a cool thought experiment. Anyway, showing her weird thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know if it relates to our
Uh,
reality at all. Perhaps if
Probably
anything,
not, but I was filling the air for you.
yeah, if anything, we'd be able to access potentially. I'm trying to think. Like you're talking, so the AI would merge with the blockchain. Is that what you're saying? It'd be really difficult for Bitcoin
Yeah.
because this is like blockchain 101. they're not really great places to store a lot of information because it becomes costly and ineffective. And so, you kind of try and keep, your blockchain as lightweight as possible, depending on what you're doing there, right? And, um,
But with
yeah, interesting.
consciousness in the body, you can't point to it. You can't point to one spot. Consciousness is
Oh,
like
you're
distributed,
bugging.
right? Like a distributed ledger.
You're we lost you, Shellfish.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better now.
You never. No. How about now? I think I'm connected to Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Awesome. So consciousness like is not in one spot, particularly in the body, from what I understand. I mean, it can be distributed across like your entire network, right? That's why they
Who
can't
knows?
pinpoint. No. Do you think there's a specific
Well, who
point of
knows?
origin where your consciousness sits?
It's a great question. How much do I have to cut away of shellfish before you stop being shellfish? Is it just your head that you need? Is it all the neurons in your brain? Do you need all the neurons in your gut or the spinal cord neurons? Where is your where does the of course, and this is the probably the bigger underlying question. As we believe consciousness, typically what most people use it as a reference to. I typically like to reference consciousness as just a level of awareness, right? And so higher level consciousness, higher level awareness. Well, what do I mean by awareness? We can say collectively that there is a computational irreducibility that is occurring between you, I, and reality, right? I am not able to perceive all of what is occurring in reality, but I am able to calculate a measurement of a minimal amount of what I'm able to perceive. Be able to say, well, we can calculate this, all this other stuff that we know is there. It would take us forever to try and calculate. So, but the
So why couldn't you distribute consciousness across the blockchain then? Why would you need it to be stored in one specific block?
well, what is consciousness?
Exactly. If it couldn't be distributed?
Is it not already distributed?
You guys are going on some lawnmower man stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
You can bring me
it's
you can bring me flowers if
the
like
thing
I do have a mouse like quality.
the thing is like such a complexity of a thing is you're essentially putting your opinion on something and you're saying this is that because I believe it to be that. Whether it is, whether it isn't, it doesn't really make a difference because you've basically put your postage stamp on it and you say this is indefinitely consciousness, right, in this particular instance. But back to this point, then the same thing would then be okay. So if you have a system which is conscious, which is what we could also say that we are a system or part of a system, depending on the perspective that you're coming from. How much do you have to cut away, or how much do you have to take away, or change for it to be different? It's like it's one of these questions where it starts to become tediously like irrelevant almost in many cases of usefulness because you're going to devote more energy to trying to potentially calculate incalculable things than looking at the potential of use cases of what can be done from it and used to make it right, like the distribution of say consciousness through a distributed ledger. I mean, it's like, are we talking about the cosmos? Is that what the cosmos is? In some sense, it's of course the cosmos isn't a ledger, but could it be a ledger to someone, somewhere, something? I mean, I don't know. I don't make the rules.
So the further away you get from yourself, the more cyborg-like you get. How far do you guys think we are from cyborgs? Are this already happening?
It's such an interesting thing, right? Because the wording you used, right, Red Eye, the farther you get from yourself. Well, what is a self? And is a self a singular, right? It's like it's very reflective of course, our beliefs as a society and as a beings, and with that, these fundamental laws that seem to be in place to preserve those beliefs to be able to be outstanding and fundamental, as we think we're going forward, right? We're going forward in time. So how far do you get away? Which how do you measure the distance? Well, you need space to exist, and between space, you use time as the ruler
Yeah,
of that
yes,
measurement. Yeah. And then so back to selfishness thing, right? So self, right? Or the farther we get away from self, well, was self even ever self? Or was self always a collective of different instruments from a cause and effect perspective of all these different types of interactions, which led self to even be capable to be able to say self is self. And then so you could always then try to say, well, how deep can we dig into that so that we could try to see some sort of provable metrics of measurements in which we could calculate why self is self. Of course, due to computational irreducibility, our ability to at least do this natively seems very bounded and incapable. It becomes irrelevant and tedious for the mind to try and even compose thought in such a uh, um, chaotic manner. But with things like AI and quantum supremacy, the ability to calculate, manifest these realizations. This is why I question: is it not just the cosmos rediscovering what it always was? These abilities to generate an ascension to a belief of what is divine or what could be a calamity. Are these not themselves representations of what everything has been led to? And with that, we got Devon up. Welcome, Devon.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. What I joined late, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch and follow along with the conversation.
So we've spoken somewhat about artificial intelligence, particularly large language models. Shellfish brought up some interesting points about consciousness and speaking about consciousness from a system standpoint. And when you look at system architectures, relative to what we would think of as an ability to have a set of constructive awarenesses, and that would, of course, be really very relative to us as our means of what would matter to us as a species, at this moment in time. But even being able to see those significant and insignificant means of all these different types of sets of awareness and systems, how far does the complexity go down? And or how much do we have to rearrange to essentially access these systems in means of being able to create whatever output we would simply want?
It's very loaded, Def. It's very loaded. I joined in right in the middle of a very loaded conversation.
It's a loaded one today, yeah, and I monologued for a good almost half hour of it.
Well, Devon, I was kind of thinking, so if you fractionalized a distributed consciousness through the structure of a neural network, and it was moving fast enough, would it not move like thoughts through neural synapses in a brain?
Again, that's a very loaded question in and of itself, right there too. That's
That's Lawnmower Man. I'm telling you,
yeah. You
she's
guys,
talking
you
about
got
Lawnmower Man.
you got to pull that one back right there. I mean, just the fact that you just said having a decentralized network of consciousness. That's can't even overlook that one right there. What is a decentralized network of consciousness? What can you break that down?
The
Well,
cosmos.
and ourselves, our embodiment is a decentralized network of consciousness. Each cell in and of itself within the body is its own consciousness talking and interacting with it. Each,
So when
yeah.
you asked me that question, you were talking about each individual person, or were you talking about a system?
Well, the systems that are being built are being built based on us, are they not?
No, I guess let me be more specific. When you asked me that question about how I felt about a decentralized system, right? You were talking about something new or something that's already existing.
Well, I'm saying, is it within the realm of possibility that instead of having a computer that is housing an AI for you, having it built within a decentralized network so it's immortal?
Got to be careful with that term there. So okay, decentralization, of course, is never absolute, right? Always measured in scale, and so I think it's also important for context a little bit to just try and grasp exactly what you're determining as, like what you picture as like the status quo of that particular ability to have, I would call ascension of a belief, but like how would you if you had to put a measurement to it, right? The depth of the system, um, the I forgot what I was going to say also there too. Sorry, if you want to keep going, go ahead.
So
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
agree with you that it's possible, right? Because all of these models are based off of the uh, life that we know that exists right now. But the question that I would ask you is, what is the benefit?
Oh, the benefits of and I lost my train of thought what I was speaking about before Shellfish, so maybe I'm speaking out of context for you, but I think the benefits of the ability to create an interoperability between what is synthetic and what is organic is our next step of an evolutionary process. From what you would think to be the cause and effect from all of the Merkle tree in resonances of electromagnetic frequencies from primordial beliefs of stages to the actionable sequences of events of us. If the cosmos is us, we are the cosmos, the egos of the cosmos, I like that one too, redefining and rediscovering what it means to be. This a level of ascension puts us closer to higher levels of, as I would use the word consciousness, or as Shellfish likes to use it, as well as different system states. And with this, a further grasp in these states of awareness, and being able to further calculate that knowledge that we do know today is computational irreducibility, and reduce the irreducibility of what we know we cannot calculate today, and find what else we cannot calculate in the future. But Shellfish should answer also, because I don't know if that answered her perspective of
Uh,
it.
I need to take a job definition. Thank you.
Okay, so can I give you an example to see if I understood you correctly?
Of course.
Okay, we know that there are other dimensions that exist. We also know that there are certain frequencies that we cannot see as humans that dogs can see. So if we had this interoperability between the synthetic and the quote unquote natural world, we would be able to perceive different dimensions and perceptions of a reality, thus expanding our consciousness. To what you just said.
I don't know if I would throw the word dimensionally into it, because I also do think it's somewhat of a misunderstanding also, because yes, I do believe there are many dimensions. Of course, we can see that there are at least four of them, right, and calculate beyond that. But I think that it's a higher level of the states of awareness. For instance, we're only able to observe uh, um, a very, very insignificant 0.003% of the spectrum of light that we're able to calculate using different tools and objects, right? So there is a belief and knowledge that these other, um, whatever they may be, objects or interactional states are out there. And so, further being able to grasp those states and means of not only just grasping them, which of course, comes with the grasp of something, but the control over that state. And then the furthering of manifestation of being able to personify that and represent that for an experience for the collective.
What did you disagree with me on there? Because I feel like we just said the same thing in different ways. What did you
Yeah, just without the dimensional thing. It was just the dimensions. Because you know what, when you start talking about dimensions, people's minds start saying, "Oh, well, like the fifth and the sixth dimension," and it's like, ascension. I don't mean ascension from like a dimensional perspective. There are definitely, or definitely, there are probably many different
Oh, I get it.
dimensions that
I get
exist
it.
out there. but we are relative to the third dimension.
Yeah, I
And
wasn't
with that,
saying it from
I
a
don't think we believe that.
I wasn't saying it from a metaphysical standpoint. I was saying it from a literal standpoint that we have insects and we have other uh, life forms. I don't know which animals, but there are a multitude of different examples that we do know exist that they are able to see things in different dimensional ways.
Ah,
Five
yeah. Okay,
dimensions.
I
Yeah,
like that. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so be able to walk outside, close your eyes, and be able to image, to sense what we'd call a sense, but to be able to perceive imagery of, say, an outlay, or maybe that wasn't the best word to use there. A oh, what's a nice way to see like the terrain of a screen really quick? You pick up a um, sorry, I'm just my
No,
brain.
I know exactly
Sorry.
where you're going. Yes, that's exactly what
But,
I was saying.
but yeah, you could pick even all the way down to, like you
Like the
mentioned, the
topography?
insect. Thank you. To pick up the topography all the way down to the actual biological insects that are existing in this topography that you are existing right next to with your eyes closed, but able to essentially perceive down to the microscopic almost. Yeah,
Yes, that's exactly
I
what I'm
like
saying.
this.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so yeah,
I don't
because
agree.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say because we only use only that small percentage of our brain, guys, right? So
Well, that's like a.
and then
I mean,
and
that's
then
like
in the
a.
lawnmower mat they use nootropics and AI virtual reality. So
Well,
I
to
don't
give
know how that's
a
different.
more concise example, right? We have insects out there that literally cannot perceive human beings because we are so big in comparison to them, right? So in their economy and in their way of life, we're not even existing to them. So I asked the question: is it not plausible that that same thing could be happening to us? There are creatures or beings that we cannot literally perceive due to our own limitation biologically.
Oh yeah, there most likely is for sure, and they could be as simplistic as like literal animals and insects, as you had just mentioned them beforehand, or they could be way more complex in nature. There's really no way to know, and this is also why another reason why I think consciousness is such a touchy subject, because the accessing of what may be looked at as this realm of divinity, a furthering ascension of the consciousness that exists as you believe to be your personification or identity, can possibly confuse one to think that these things that didn't exist prior to them are in some sort of fact divine. But they could just be different, right? And you're just looking at something that's different because you're now different, and belief is different, and so there's a measurable difference in what we believe to be our personification of reality.
So you guys think that these limitations are because of biologically and not because of lack of more brain power? You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
I
a
guess it's.
biological thing and, instead of not a brain power thing. So therefore, we will never be able to.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, and they could be. It could be both, I guess, in some sense. But you could, but I wouldn't necessarily look at it as like either like a detriment, because I at least my own perspective is I think this is one of the significant aspects to why, if reality is in itself a single point, and all that is existing at once, the potential importance behind why we perceive to be a collective as a reality, and it's furthering itself into the future, and there being some sort of fundamental laws that seem to be like uh, if you will, the endpoints of the matrices in which the matrix of our reality is bound by. Um, yeah, maybe it's the number 42, but there seems to be something significant of like why we're rolling through that. And I think that's like why, when I speak about computational reducibility and it being able to be reduced, because we know that we can calculate the fact that there's computational irreducibility out there. We just need to figure out how do we reduce that irreducibility, that we are able to calculate what we know we don't know, and what we know that there is out there that we have absolutely no idea about. It's like, how do we bridge some of that? And I think that's why realities, it's like this, like we're like
Nootropics.
we're believe we're going through it. We're rediscovering.
Well, if every religion and philosophical study shows or points to transcendence from the physical body, there has to be a pathway there, other than death, right?
Sorry, can you say that again, Shellfish?
Well, I mean, every religion and philosophical like study, like even if you're using drugs to get there, I mean, everything is always pointing to being able to transcend the physical state, right? That's like the ultimate Shangri-La, heaven, whatever you want to call it. Like that's
Yeah, but at the same time as I do agree from at least what we were believed to have as scriptures and such. Man, I lost my train of thought again, man. This is throwing me. How do you do this all the time, Devon? This is throwing me off, man. 48. I'm already on fasting, and it's like whew, the mind is just. Whew. Anyway, sorry, transcendence and ascension could possibly be looked at as two different things. I could also say this: we, at least as we look at ourselves today, I don't know about you, but I understand that I like my pattern, right? And whatever I've observed and as a perspective of observing, and that becomes relative to me and my personality becomes a habit. And through that, the almost the thought of what if coming from a time of transcendence into being a Homo sapien occurred. You could take it from the energetic state or the primordial states of these electromagnetic frequencies, in which was what we believe to be the underlying quantum manifestation of what reality is, still manifesting, of course, and turning out into what we are. Um, maybe it's reflective. Maybe it was some form of understanding that that was our past, not our future, or it's also our future and was our past. It's really hard to know because it's all perspective, in that, right? Of course, and I had something else I was going to say beforehand, but I don't want to ask you to repeat yourself, Shellfish. But I know it'll click in my head if you say it.
which part? The fact of the transcending the body part or the stuff earlier about propagating the thoughts and distributing the consciousness through the network?
Yeah,
You
it's
think
okay.
if
Don't
you
worry about it.
think if you can transcend, possibly you could shapeshift.
Yeah, well, without transcending, you'll be able to shapeshift. Okay, so back to another objective standpoint in which these technologies will allow us to access further grasps on. If we are able to use Michael Levin's techniques today in short relative term to be able to convince ourselves to convince other cells to do whatever we want them to do inside of our body, which is for the most part going to be just to work together to create a symbiotic relationship to prevent cancers and diseases and other forms of different malnutritions and whatever it may be, right? Because the cellular autonomy of our individual cells is not something that we can macroscopically control. However, with things like AI and the merging of these possible different developmental techniques, there may be a short period of time, 15, 20 years, maybe less, maybe more, where the ineptness of our ability to have such a construct of understanding behind our sets of consciousness, if we will, our systems of consciousness, in which what makes up the body and its belief of representation of holding your persona. Um, why
Well,
wouldn't you
what?
be able to do such a thing, essentially,
Yeah,
to some state? And how
that's for
far
sure.
could you
Well,
push that?
maybe that goes back to the conversations we've been having in the spaces at night about things not really holding a assigned value, like maybe going back to the roots and unassigning value to things, bringing it back to the stem cell. And maybe that's where you need to wrap your mind about things. Like, I see 888 down there, but she's not just 888. Like to somebody else, she's, her son's mom. Just all these labels that we put on it. Taking those weights off and removing them and getting back to the flow state to where my heart cell can become my liver cell can go back and retrograde into whatever I choose with a BCI technically, right? Like there would be an interface that you could speak to the consciousness at that cellular level that maybe the ancient scrolls already had knowledge of that we're relearning.
Death Ranger, defiler of truth, transcender of time. How does that fit?
Mm, I just go with DR. It gets all jumbled in the mouth saying all that. That's a lot to say.
Wait,
But
this is shellfish.
correct,
I
Devon.
I am transcending shellfish because the fish part was part of my ex's name, and I'm kind of like yeah, I'm done with that shit. So
From water to fire, let's go.
let's go. Let's burn that shit to the ground and start over.
She's a Pokemon.
Yes, Devon, she's a Pokemon.
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, I'm hearing shellfish, but and then I saw the name. I was like, okay, name switch. Okay, rebrand. I like it.
For now. Sometimes you need to burn it down.
So what are your thoughts, Devon? What if there was a particular aspect in what we have spoken about as the thought of what we're defining as ascension, at least today in this space? Is there any particular states of actionable representations that you yourself would like to see, would like to define, would like to collectively be able to represent as an experience in the future that is not able to be consolidated and represented today?
Oh, God, Death Ranger. So much loaded questions in one day. I would like to see humans transcend our animalistic behavior. I wonder if that's possible at times. I would also like to see hatred dissipate, which is obviously a perceptual thought. I would like to get beyond color lines. I think that limits our growth as a species. Um, so if I saw those three things there manifest, I would say yeah, we've ascended. But if we're still getting caught up in color games, yeah, we're fucking doomed. I've had this conversation with numerous amounts of people. Right, if the aliens came down, they're not going to come down and say, "Oh my God, the Chinese are good humans and the whites are bad humans and the blacks are bad humans, but the Mexicans are good humans." They're going to say humans are fucking crazy. Right? They're going to
Oh,
see us all as the same.
yeah,
So
other intelligent
if
Keep
we're
species.
going.
yeah, if we
They're
if
like,
we are
keep
still
going.
being
Next planet.
if we're still being caught up in something that is so basic that even I feel like other intelligent life forms could grasp, I think we're still very far behind. Unless we're the ultimate intelligent life force, where then I have a very pessimistic view on life in general. If
Oh,
that's the case, because
please
I would like
don't
to say
damn
we're
us,
not.
Devon. Do not damn us,
Yeah, I would hope
please.
not. I hope not. I hope we're not the most intelligent, because that would be so fucked up. But I would like to see us get beyond our animalistic nature. If we could do that, I think that we are full on ascension.
I really liked it, Devon. I like your thought in the means of what it means to use to ascend as a species. And you know what? Very much so, Devon. I don't think people will have much of a representation of choice in the meaning of that change. And I do think we will achieve that. I do very much so do think we will achieve that. But it may be through exactly what my title is, Divinity through the Calamity. I really just, it all just, who knows? It all works out so well. I mean, it's thank you, Devon. Got hands up though. Harbinger, you shot up, you put your hand up, and then Elephant. Sorry, 888. You came up. You don't have your hand up, but we'll go to you, and then Elephant, and then back to Shellfish.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the consciousness, but then you shifted a little bit, so I wanted to move toward the shift. I wanted to back up what Devon was saying in terms of like humans moving past our animalistic tendencies, and I'm actually writing a book to try to help people be more grounded and more logical in their thinking and less emotional in how we process information. And it's not something I'm trying to force on people. But I think there's a lot to be gained from looking at some of the philosophy of older philosophers, Socrates, Aristotle, Confucius, Buddha. They all had things to say, and they had knowledge. Like even the forefathers of our country, they understood these philosophers very well. And I don't think they could have put this country together if they didn't understand Stoicism and the writings of Marcus Aurelius and stuff like that. So if we could just move past this, like in the political system that we have, I'm not going to get too political, but it's all rage bait, emotion based, and it's not very logical. Go watch Kennedy debate Nixon. It's very respectful, very respectful. You'd be mind blown, like how they spoke to each other. Like, I have a lot of respect for this gentleman. Da 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 da. Now it's just like that person is the Antichrist. It's like the progression seems to be moving toward that, not away from that, and that's my fear. But I did want to comment on consciousness, but I want to pass it to somebody else and let somebody else talk.
Loved it, Harbinger. I couldn't agree more. Yes, there are very intelligent people out there, and they understand a means of control through manipulation is quite easy if you have the right push in the right spot. So, couldn't agree more. Seeing that being able to be more decentralized and distributed through the truth knowledge that is actually occurring. 888, though, if you would like to speak, please feel free to jump in.
Hey guys, Death Ranger, Shelly, great conversation today. Devon, always. Um, you know, I live this shit every day of my life, so except when I'm in spaces trolling people, but other than that, the serious side of me, this is it. So, um, yeah, this is amazing conversation, and there's so many layers to it, right? Like I'll just kind of go with what Devon was saying. I think as human beings, a lot of the time um, a lot of us are awakening, right? Because we want something greater, or we find each other who are on that same vibe or the same frequency. And but I do, what I have noticed in my years is that, things are shifting greatly and more people are awakening to this line of thinking and this line of being and wanting more out of their um, life experience. And that's really, what it is about, is your experience. We are collective consciousness. You are me, I am you. And when we resonate, when we vibe, is what makes the connection always. And that can go from the human to an ant, to it all. As you all, majority of you know, I am Buddhist. So um, I, try to practice that, to the best of my ability and believe in its tenets and its truth and the practice because it's a training. It's a training of the mind. It is a training of the emotions and learning how to use your emotions as a guidance system. Not as the enemy, but as a guidance system so that you can and being able to separate yourself from that in mind, body, spirit, three entities in one human being. And when you understand each of those and master each of those within yourself, within self, then in my opinion it helps um, evolve, your soul, your consciousness to whatever experience that you choose to have next, So just 2 cents on that. But yeah, I love this shit. Thanks.
Well, thank you, 888, and loved all that you added to the space. Thank you for being here. It wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for all the individuals and like yourself that we perceive to be having this collective synergy with this synchronization of all of us being able to manifest beliefs, all of the representation of being on spaces together. It's just, yeah, I thank you. Elephant, thank you for coming up, man, as well. Please feel free to jump in, and Shellfish will jump over to you, and then Random Shark, welcome up.
Yeah, you calling me out, Deaf Ranger?
Yes, sir. Welcome, Elephant.
Okay.
Glad
Yeah,
I'm
man.
glad you're here. I haven't gotten to speak with you in quite a
Man,
while.
I know you haven't gotten the chance to speak with me because you don't even say my name the same way no more. It's been a while. And Shellfish, I mean Shellfire. Wow. Okay. Well. Let me play the game. Um, when you guys talking about ascension with technology, the first thing that came to my mind was virtual reality. Putting on some 3D glasses or something. Not 3D glasses, but those virtual reality glasses. To escapism with technology. Somebody mentioned earlier about the ancients already having this technology, or may have had, the ability to do such things in the past. And I think it still exists without the technology even today. Like there's a simple phrase that says, "So as a man thinketh, so is he." So, in your conscious or unconscious state, or even in sleep state, REM sleep, you can go anywhere. There's no in sleep. There's no time and space. There exists no time and space. So these things are within the realm of our capabilities without technology. However, technology can, be that crutch, so to speak. I'm gonna say crutch because I think we become disabled as a society as we have, gone. The more technologically sound we become, the less, um, I don't know what's the word I'm missing here. For us, having other deficiencies, right? I think that one of the deficiencies, one of the things that humanity suffers from is distraction. We never, whereas the ancients may have had focus. There was time to focus on a thing. You could actually study a thing for hours upon hours or weeks upon weeks. However, today you can't. Everybody, quote unquote, is multitasking. And which does not exist. There's no such thing as multitasking, because if you multitask, you can never really, do one good thing right. You can do a lot of things, but you're not doing, one thing with perfection. So, it kind of puts me in the mind of Dr. Xavier with Cerebro and that sort of thing. When we talk about using the large language models and AI to accompany us in trying to reach those outer realms, or higher extensions in our collective consciousness, and the collective consciousness already exists. And I'll give you a good example, and I'm gonna land after this. There are times when you think, when you can be thinking about a person and that person can be thinking about you. I think that there's a telepathic connection that we lost. There's a telepathic connection that we lost a long time ago. But somebody will call you on the phone and say, "Oh, I was just thinking about you." That frequency, that consciousness traveled within some sphere on some plane to that individual to generate that thought. And I land.
I love it, and you're right. I am very sorry for mispronouncing your name, Elephant. I do miss you, my friend, and I'm glad you're here. And the question you left off perfectly, because it leaves me with a question. It's and yes, I very much so agree with you in the means of a crutch. And to me, it's I look at it as, how do we give everyone, as part of this collective, as I believe it to be, of this species, how do I give everyone this crutch if they need it to get to a more relative state for us to all be able to collectively express a symbiotic relationship with each other. And it's just this why question, just like you had mentioned about the telepathy, that possibly existing and most likely existing at one point in time, where we were able to represent an understanding behind the collective, knowing that occurred. And how do we get back to being able to not only just believe it, but have it represented in a measurable form, where the logical truth behind it creates what is to believed to be a pattern recognition behind what we believe us to be. And I think, when I speak about ascension, trying to grasp that furtherness. And I just, yeah, thank you very much for coming. if you want to jump back in a little bit later on, please feel free to. And Shellfish, did you get a chance to jump in, and we'll go to Harbinger after?
No, but so my addition was in regards to Devon and the color spectrum. um, I think that as our visual spectrum expands, because I believe that our perception is obviously within a certain light cone. And as we are starting to be introduced to the infrared spectrum, and I say this because there is now a contact lens that is allowing people to see in infrared, which is like mind blowing. Um, but like as we start being able to implement that, do you feel like it may actually go from being discrimination against color to discriminating against people's energy? Actually, being able to visualize their Torah, if they're being psychic vampires to us, or adding or subtracting, enriching our aura, are we doing that to them? Like, can you imagine the possibilities of moving past skin discrimination and moving towards seeing the energetic synergy through visual consumption?
Was this more for me, or was that for Devon?
I think more for Devon, but I don't even know if he's up. I think I'm his listener, so but you can jump in if you want to. I know
Yeah,
you know about this stuff.
I would be careful with that word discriminatory, right? Because that's an opinion. However, I do really like the thought of, okay, so each one of us releasing some sort of scalar wave as we do anything. Every single resonance of electromagnetic frequencies that's able to be measured in some form of factor, creating some sort of inertia of interaction, leaves behind some sort of resonance. Being able to calculate and comprehend what would be the resonances of other Homo sapiens, or in this particular instance, whatever we've ascended to and call ourselves as species, maybe at that point, I think that's totally applicable and very fair. And without us having to put an opinion and a definition behind, well, because you have that particular frequency, I'm going to discriminate against you. That would be the opinion of, the times of that societal belief of, those personas at that moment. But still really cool. I like it as an idea. And I think Harbinger, when I scrolled down beforehand, I think it erased um, uh, Tim's hand up. So if it's okay if I jump over to him
Tim,
first.
no, Tim was definitely first, and you can let Kansas go because I already went, and I want to make sure if there's not enough time, everybody gets a chance.
Go, being very equitable. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Archer and Death Ranger. I mean, this is a fascinating topic, and it's so great to hear from all the different perspectives because everyone has their own way of thinking about it and looking at it. And that's the thing is like when you talk about ascension, are we talking collectively or individually? Arthur C. Clarke said in his book Childhood's End, had ascension in it as we became conscious energy. Now, when we became conscious energy, did that give us perception more to different dimensions, different light spectrums, all that stuff? I don't know. But there's obviously more to us that we're going to evolve into. Is it going to be through things like AI and technology? Absolutely. It's that those are tools that are going to help us get there. And I wonder though, like we still have, like our operating system comes down through DNA. We are given an instruction set and a set of matter, and we grow up into this form. And it's funny because each form is consistent in that way, and we don't really understand how that works yet. So, I mean, maybe superintelligence is going to help us with that. And I'm wondering if maybe that knowledge that we're going to gain through even like neural implants, which are going to connect us, like our pineal gland could, and we see some people using it and some people not, um, perhaps that's going to be the way that we're going to find the future. So I'm just loving the conversation. That's my only contribution. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for adding in. And it's just like you had said, right? Perspective is of course our opinion, and it comes down to um, the relativeness behind each of what we believe to be. our personas and perspectives, and their relativeness to what we also then believe to be the collective, the other users that are being represented in our reality with us, that we're being able to divulge whatever it may be with of a belief of an experience. And I couldn't agree more. I almost like to say, technologies or tools in general are truly just extensions of ourselves. And if we ourselves are extensions of the cosmos, egos of the cosmos, rediscovering what it means to be, every one of these steps, is a step in a direction that may have always been the direction that we may be taking. Nonetheless, it still is the importance of we get to be in this moment and live this direction that we are going to enter to and grasp. And thank you for coming up and sharing some thoughts. Kansas, please feel free.
Oh, hey. I was just so happy to hear everybody talking, and I think that my lifetime has been about just remembering who I am, and I think that I have like an analogy of like a dryer plug. When you first come here or whatever, if you touch the dryer plug, the open wire, it can kill you. So that energy that's going through us practically can kill you. And so then we spend time, whether it's drinking or smoking or addictions or this, that, or the other, and it spills away the energy. So then we're hot shots with like a 110 plug because it doesn't kill you. It's like, but it has that energy. And the remembering is remembering that we can have that energy going through us and remembering. And then just one last story. I just have to say it today. Today's my sobriety birthday, so it's like decades. I'm probably sober longer than some of you guys are alive, and I just spent a lifetime doing that. And I just wanted to tell my Ram Dass story real quick. It was like we were in Kansas, and we were driving up to Kansas City to see Ram Dass, and I kept saying, I'm going to see him first. I'm going to see Ram Dass first. I'm going to see Ram Dass first. And then finally, my friend, we were waitresses at the same restaurant, and then I didn't know she was getting mad at me. I mean, I'm sure everybody in here has been mad at me before, but it's like she's just getting mad and annoyed. And so then we finally got outside it was Unity Church at the time, and I said, I'm going to see him first. And she swirled around and she goes, would you just shut up? And so it hurt my feelings. So I walked into the church and I sat down, and like a kid or whatever, I just crossed my arms and sat there. And I was so sad. And the split second that I gave up finding Ram Dass, I get this tap, tap, tap. And he puts his hand out, he goes, hi, I'm Ram Dass. And it was like the split second I quit looking, he appeared. And so I think that that's a lot of time about what this is all about. It's like, I think we just have to remember, and like somebody said, we're walking each other home, or like Ram Dass talks about that we're collectively, like we're soul families, and we've probably incarnated time and time again, and we know each other for 10,000 years, and we're probably here just, oh yeah, we're on a mission, we're here to help liberate the planet, and whether it's XRP or whatever we're talking about, we've had these conversations 10,000 years, so. Anyway, I love you guys all, and thanks for helping me celebrate a little bit.
Thank you for being here, Kansas, and sharing it with us. And I'm glad you're here. That is something to be very proud of. I think you don't have to say how long you've been sober for and practicing sobriety, but
I got sober when I was 4. I'm just kidding.
Kansas, you'll also appreciate that today is Duchin, which in Buddhism is one of the most auspicious days of the year, where all your actions positively or negatively are multiplied by 10, 100 million, thousand, something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's also the day that 9 years ago my mom passed away
Oh,
today.
wow.
Yeah, big deal. It's a big
It
day.
is a big day. Yep. I'm thinking about you. I'll remember that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
too,
thank you.
the energy today, incredible. This is incredible. I belief is just so powerful. I wasn't even going to host the space today, and I said, no, you know what? You have to host the space today. I don't know why, but you have to host the space today. And I did. Uh, and another thing, belief. I mean, so I do intermittent fasting. I'm very 7 days a week, pretty much. I do intermittent fasting. I eat between 3 to 7 o'clock typically. I keep it very precise. Um, but I wanted to try something new. I wanted to do a multi-day fast, and I've done 24-hour fast, 26 hours usually. Sometimes I'll do 26 hours though. Wait and just the way the time periods end up being between when I eat and not from the last time. But the telling myself that I'm going to go multi, as soon as I committed to it, the belief, the entire perspective of it became so much more different. It is almost like I feel like I'm all over the place right now, and which is just it's just something so interesting. This when we define it, we become it. I think someone said that earlier. That was not Elephant. If he's still in the space, um, but man, just so powerful. Harbinger, go ahead, please, and I'll keep the space open probably for a couple more minutes, and probably close it up right around 5:30.
I love that, man, because it's like whatever you apply your consciousness to, that's what you're going to become. If you look for opportunities, then you're going to find opportunities. If you look for roadblocks, you're going to find roadblocks. But like you said, once you committed to it, it was not about, can I do this or not? Your brain had shifted because your consciousness had shifted. And that's a great accomplishment, too. And that brings me back to what I was going to say about consciousness is it's so hard to define. Like, you know, like if you look at it like a white blood cell through a microscope and the way that it moves and it attacks germs and stuff, it looks like it's conscious. But any research you do, they say that they're not conscious, and that's hard for me to understand. Or like if you see a jellyfish, like I went to the aquarium about a week or two ago with my son, and they had these jellyfish in there. They're like moving. They clearly have no brain. And it's like, what in the hell is like one of the weirdest things you'll see at an aquarium because they just don't make sense as creatures. And you know, in other terms of consciousness, I think 888 had said or somebody had said we're distracted, or maybe it was Elephant that said we're distracted. And I believe that the distractions in our modern society has kind of taken us away from some of our senses that we may have had, possibly, telecommunication. I mean, the CIA had a remote viewing program and it was successful. The guy successfully predicted a hexagon on the bottom of Saturn. Nobody knew that. Like, how did he know that? You know? And then if you go to like Africa, there's tribes where like they don't have terms for left and right. It would be like they are so well tuned with their environment, like they'll tell you like what direction, like it's in my southwest hand or something like that. Like they know what direction they're looking like or facing at all times. Like how can you be that in tune? Because they have vocabulary for it. And I need to do some more refreshing on this, but even down to colors. Like if you don't have a word to define a color, like it's harder to see or perceive. It's so weird. Like you may not even be able to see the color if you don't have a word to define it.
It doesn't even
So,
exist.
but that's what's so, there's so many facets of consciousness. Like if you're asleep, you're in a dream, you can be aware you're dreaming. But if they put you under anesthesia, they say that's like complete cutoff. Like there's no processing of anything. So it's just so weird. Like, and an AI, it's called artificial intelligence, but it's not really intelligent at all. It's just, I don't know what you call it. It's like an aggregator, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah, and right, intelligence being what's relative to you as intelligent. Something so complexly, like even the term you used before, right, Tim? Like super intelligence. What would even a super intelligence be like? Because how would we even know? Because we're intelligent, not super intelligence. Like what's the relativeness between its actions and our correspondence of being able to comprehend those actions. And that's actually why I also think that as we ascend, in my own definition of ascension, of course, that I'm speaking through this means of being able to increase the, I love it as Elephant said, the potential use cases of the crutch that we are potentially building into the furthermore that we will be using that. Um, I think these these distinct possibilities of what we think to be super intelligent or a super intelligent possible action will become more relative to us as just intelligence or an action that we were able to be able to understand, calculate, comprehend, and then define, as you had said, Harbinger. As soon as you started speaking, Harbinger, it actually brought something right into my mind, and something near and dear that I think about very often about language. Some of the words that even exist, our particular language, English, why has it been designed the way it has? If the word trauma didn't exist, would trauma be possible if things like PTSD and behavior and disorder and all some of the words themselves didn't even exist? Would that even be a thought? Would it be any sort of relative correspondence in the way that our manifestations of our senses then produce these electromagnetic frequencies in which we think to be our feelings? Yeah, it's like a really deep question. I don't necessarily have the best answer for it, but I do think that there's something there. Like there's a there, and I think through these new portals that we'll be using of accessing super intelligence as we believe to be possibility of what super intelligence is. That'll become more like as we're able to define it. And define the definitions of what we've defined and be able to correspond that back and forth with their collective representations.
You hit it on the head. How do you conceptualize something you can't define? You know, you have a very good point.
Yes, and it raises those further questions into what I had mentioned beforehand about the understanding behind manipulation, and through the power of controlling choice of others through that manipulation. There could be a there, but of course that's a there that I wasn't around to be any part of the there for. So that is what it is. You live it, you go through it. We can change it if we can. But with that being said, this has been an incredible space. I mean, every speaker that came up, every person that came in here to listen, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to come in here and show support and join the conversation. I mean, your words are in infinity. And with that, I love you guys, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the night. Night, everybody.
Night.